Hey, Inspire Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers. It's John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is Tuesday actually, July 30th, 2024. We're healthy, we're wealthy, we're whole, we're free. Thank you for joining us on X Rumble and, of course, on YouTube. Welcome into live chat. I see Essie, Cynthia, Yelena, Kakusi. I also see Reese, XXX. I saw up there. Let me see. Stuart is here. Welcome. Christina is here. Good to see you. The Shaman from Within. So many familiar names. Tom Gallagher. Gerald is here. Good to see you, brother. Mama Mel, Gracious Love. Who else is here? Well, J Fraud is here. Jim Kirk is here. Welcome, everybody. And thank you for being with us, for your wonderful comments, for your liking, sharing, and everything else. Today, we're going to go deep down the rabbit hole. Actually, I would say we're going to go out of the rabbit hole. And where are these desires of your desires, my desires, born from, to go into rabbit holes, to discover things, to study, to research, to never be willing to settle? This is the greatest question of all. Christine and I just spent a really wonderful weekend with a friend of ours, and we went really deep into certain subjects, which is sort of the natural expansion of consciousness. Of course, we discussed to a certain degree what's going on in the world, like so many others do, and this is precisely the point. When you look at the landscape of commentators today, those who get the greatest visibility, whether it's in the mainstream or out of the mainstream, are those who are staying, thank you, Charlotte, are those who are staying within the narratives of our physical reality, politics, religion, the conspiracies of the world, which are real, by the way, the deceptions, which are real, the corruption, which is real, the lies, which are all real, don't get me wrong, but they are caught up in a wheel. And even if they're in the outer edges of that wheel, they're still on the wheel. What do I mean by that? Let's take a look at what this awakening that so many are going through is. And then I'll show you, and we'll talk about how you can feel there's something much deeper going on here. And maybe you've been feeling it all your life. And more people are beginning to see exactly that the narratives of the day, that the conspiracies of our time, that the stories that are out there are just scratching the surface of what's really going on here. Let's talk about it. Let's look at this a little deeper, my friends. Let's do a deep dive. Let's look at the word conspiracy. That's where it all begins. It begins for people when they discover that reality in front of their eyes is not simply unfolding by happenstance or in the way that they're being taught it's unfolding. What is a conspiracy? A conspiracy is an agreement between two or more persons to engage in unlawful or harmful actions, often involving secrecy or deceit, with the intent to achieve a particular goal that is typically illegal or unethical. This plan often involves coordinated efforts to conceal the true nature of their actions. I want to stay here for a little bit. The world is currently divided in two groups of people. One group that usually, and thank you so much, what is it? Slick 102, thank you so much. The world is generally divided in two groups, one of which believes that what is unfolding in the world is a sort of a natural or authentic progression of events, one causing the other reacting to the one, and that the way that the system operates is, generally speaking, exactly how they're told it is operating. So they're basically buying the story at face value. whatever the story seems to be. The other group of people, an ever growing group, is becoming increasingly aware that conspiracies are truly everywhere, and that's happening on a small scale because they either have been a part of one in their lives at some time, or at least have observed enough of them to know that the story that we are being told is rarely, if ever, the truth. So what that means is that, you know, whether that's your city council, your sheriff's department, whether that is some other agency or a company. So basically, what the public is being told about something is rarely what the intention behind that was. And we can go into some very sort of relatable examples. Marketing. So marketing, if you look at the history of marketing in the last 60 or so years, or now it's 70, 80 years. So basically, when Madison Avenue and the modern age of marketing began, when all that came up through television and all the other mediums, that there is an objective that a company has, and then there is a way to sell that objective to the public so that they engage in whatever the company wants them to engage to, usually to purchase their products. Now, they will hide certain things, most things, from the public, and let the public only see what they want them to see. Usually this only needs to be done because if they would see the entire picture, they would not buy it or they would not agree with it, which is a deception and a lie. And if one or if two or more people do it together, it's called a conspiracy. So if you start looking at the reality that we see from that standpoint, you will see that there are conspiracies truly everywhere. So then once you discover 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 20 conspiracies, which only means that you discover that what you have been told is not what was actually going on, and that what you thought something was about isn't about that at all. So let's take it pretty big out now. Let's go into what we've been hearing about the climate, what we've been hearing about the necessary restructuring of society, what we've been hearing about these agendas 2030 and so forth, which we've talked a lot about. What we're being told as for being the reason why we need to make all these changes is not the truth. So if that is not the truth and two or more people engage in it, then that is a conspiracy. Now you have to look at the picture. How does it happen that all these elements, all these governments in the world, all these huge organizations are somehow coordinated and working together? What would that make it? That would make it a grand conspiracy. That would make it an almost worldwide conspiracy. Now, a lot of you don't have troubles wrapping your mind around this because you've been studying this. But this is where the world is beginning to come to. And a substantial group in this alternative information world, alternative media world, truth or freedom movement, patriot movement, whatever you want to call it, is covering this to a good and pretty big degree. But this is usually where the journey stops. So they go and say, well, this is what the awakening is. Okay, let's look at this awakening, right? The awakening, in today's terms, refers to a widespread and growing awareness among individuals about various social, political, environmental, technological, and spiritual issues. People are increasingly questioning mainstream narratives and seeking alternative sources of information. The impact of technology on privacy and health is also a significant concern. Facilitated by worldwide connectivity through the internet and social media, this collective shift in consciousness aims to create a better world. So in a few terms, the awakening, the way that it is defined right now by a lot of this alternative information sphere, is waking up to these conspiracies, but also waking up to a greater spiritual understanding. And through seeing greater truths, and sort of a natural inclination to make things better. And while this in and of itself is important that everybody goes through. It is not the beginning and it's not the end of the journey. However, and this is really where it begins to become troublesome. Very few people with reach are willing to go beyond these subjects. So they're hung up on the solutions within what we perceive to be physical reality. Vote for somebody else. Let's introduce a third party. Go to this Christian or go to this religious stream, or let's fight this organization. They're caught up in these narratives, even if they're on the fringe, if they're very much on the outside. But very seldom are they willing to ask the bigger why. So you discovered the deep state. So you discovered that there are organizations and people and committees and and groups that are pulling the strings from behind the scenes. A lot of people will say, well, the why is clear. They want money. They want the power. Well, if you look at the picture, they already have the money. They already have the power. Actually, they are in control of how money is created. They're in control of the entire system. That's not what they want. That's not what this is about. See, so the bigger question becomes, why really, and what is really going on here? And this is where, if you really look at the big picture, all these earthly conspiracies are just a drop in the ocean compared to the entire ocean, which is really what this big picture becomes when you look at it. And we can look at another term that's become very popular in recent years, in the last 5 years especially, but of course before that, but really the last 5 years, I've heard this over and over again. To be red-pilled. To be red-pilled, it's not very different from awakening, basically. It means to become aware of and accept the reality that is perceived as hidden or obscured by mainstream narratives and conventional beliefs. The term originates from the 1990 film The Matrix, which I would assume most of you have seen, in which the protagonist Neo is offered a choice between a red pill, which reveals the harsh truth about reality, and a blue pill, which allows him to remain in comfortable ignorance. So I have heard so many narrators. I've heard Robert Malone, remember Robert Malone? Pleasant voice, talked all about the whole COVID thing. I've heard so many of these people say they were red-pilled. Oh, they now see. And then you ask, what do you see? Well, we see the corruption. We see the deep state. We see the conspiracies. We see the globalists. We see all of that. We see the Agenda 2030. You go, yes, but what else? What do you mean, what else? This is it. It's a spiritual battle. Yeah, what spiritual battle? And this is sort of where it ends, right? So the more Christian-oriented will go, well, it's a battle between good and evil, but it still stops there. But what was red pill really? What did that really mean? For those of you who watched the movie, do you remember what the red pill really showed? So many are beginning to see this, what the red pill really showed. Let's look at it. So, awakening to alternative perspectives, questioning authority and norms, awareness of perceived deception, desire for truth, skepticism of mainstream narratives, yes. But that's the pre-stage, actually. What people call red-pilled today is the pre-stage of taking the red pill. It's not the actual experience of being red-pilled. This guy, Lawrence Fishburne, who played Morpheus in the Matrix movies, this guy actually gave Neo the choice in the movie, right? He said, you want the blue pill or the red pill? The blue pill, you'll go back to your life. You'll be comfortable in ignorance. You won't really know anything. And you live like 99% of the others. Or you take the red pill and you see just how deep the rabbit hole goes, right? That's what he said. Literally. He said to Neo, the searcher, that could be you and I, right? Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know, you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life, that there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there like a splinter in your mind driving you mad. And until here is where the narrative questioners usually go. Yeah, there's something wrong with the world because there are people conspiring to control you, and there are people in the background who want the power for themselves in the government. They want all the money, and they want the government contracts, and they're playing us off against each other. But why? It isn't because they want the government in their hands. They have the government in their hands. It isn't because they want more control of the resources. They have that control of the resources. That is not enough. We haven't gone far enough. But to go beyond, you have to be willing to question each and every belief system that you've ever had. You have to be willing to question everything, including your deepest held religious beliefs, the stories, the narratives. You have to be willing to go beyond, if only in fantasy, if only to explore if it could be. Not to accept it as a new reality, just to go, if I let my guard down, if I allow myself to, for just one moment here, not be confined by my religious and all other belief systems, what will I find? This is so beautifully explained by Greg Braden in our interview that we just posted. That's what he said from the get-go. Please, just for a moment, let your belief systems be what they are and give yourself permission to go beyond. Let's go beyond. The Matrix is what Morpheus explains is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now in this very room, you can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. What truth? What truth? You are a slave, he said to Neo. Now don't get triggered. Stay with me, please. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage. Born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind. I want you to imagine it. I want you to imagine the prison for the mind. What does that mean? Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. This is your last chance. After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends, you wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe, which is what people do every day. They believe whatever they want to believe. They choose their cosmology. They choose their belief systems. Or you take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. And here's the question I have for you. The world has taught us, ultimately, because when you travel the world, you know this to be true. The world has taught us that we can make choices between belief systems. A belief system is like a cosmology. What does that mean? It means that you choose how you believe or how you want to see the cosmos, the reality around you, how you want to see it, how you want to interpret it. And you choose one of the systems that is offered to you. As long as it's one on the approved list, you are okay. As long as it's on the approved list, you are fine. If you are a rebel, you can choose from a list of rebellious beliefs that is on the approved list, and you will be fine. You'll still be fine within the system. Yeah, they'll pretend to be a little harsh on you, but you'll be fine. There's an approved list of belief systems and rebellious belief systems, and no belief, which is the antithesis, right, which they call atheist or atheism. And as long as you are on that list, it's okay. So it's like there is a menu. There's a menu. You can go all over the world, and the menu includes Buddhism and Hinduism and Christianity and Islam and all these things, right? And choose. But you must choose from this list. And you must follow the rules that are connected to your belief system. And so the monks, the Buddhist monks, what do? Well, they shave their hair off, right? That's part of their belief system. What did the natives do? What did the American Indians do? They let their hair grow out. And both connected to a spiritual belief. Both say that it has significance, that it is important. Both say it's the truth. And then they play out other scenarios. And the Buddhists say you have to go through the cycle of suffering to enlighten, to evolve, to come up on the ladder until you are allowed, until you are enlightened enough, until you have proven yourself to be worthy of going to the next and the next stage. And the Christians don't say that differently. They just took out the reincarnation, say you have this life to prove that you're worthy. When you come to the pearly gates and when you talk to your father, when your father, there's judgment day, and then your father will judge whether you go to heaven or to hell. And the Hindus have different, they have multiple gods, right? And then so you go and you see that there are enough cosmologies to pick from. But what if taking the red pill means that you do not pick one of them, that you pick none of them? But what else is there? There is some truth in all of them, but the truth lies outside of them, always has, always will be. That's why you are okay to pick one of them. That's why this is approved. What isn't approved is the thought that goes beyond those belief systems. Let's look a little further here. And the conversation went on. Neo said, right now, we're inside a computer program. And Morpheus says, is it really so hard to believe? Your clothes are different. The plugs in your arms and heads are gone. This is explaining when they took him out of the Matrix and brought him into another computer program. Your hair has changed. Your appearance now is what we call residual self-image, the mental projection of your digital self. And Neo says, this isn't real. And Morpheus goes on to say, what is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain. The world that you know, it exists now only as part of a neural interactive simulation that we call the Matrix. You've been living in a dream, Neo. The red pill does not say, oh, there's a conspiracy in this world. Oh, the governments are lying to you. Oh, corporations and governments are working together and have this fascist system in control. And the red pill says that all of this that we just discussed here about the governments and all the other stuff is part of a belief system that is supposed to keep your perception imprisoned and attached to a non-existent reality that truly only is simulated. This is where it gets very difficult for people to wrap their minds around, let alone feel the truth in this. These bodies aren't real. The houses, the cars, none of it is real. Real in the sense of, oh, there is something that was built from physical matter. No. These are waves and electrical signals that we interpret. We're not here. The we, talking about the consciousness. Consciousness itself is not here. But consciousness is hijacked to believe that it is here, in this. That it is limited to this space, and that this space is inherently real. We've talked about this, you've heard about this, others talk about this, but this seems to be one of the subjects of a plethora of subjects. Like, yeah, well, let's think about simulation theory for a moment. Maybe this isn't real. Maybe this is a computer game. Maybe this is an ancestor simulation. No. People before us, if we can look at time, we have to kind of take some of these frames to even communicate with people that came before us. Plato's cave, Aristotle, the Gnostics, the shamans of many African traditions, and to a certain degree, from what I've gathered, the Native Americans, the Aborigines, we find these legends, myths, and stories everywhere if we look. And many say this is a dream world. We could say we're living inside of a dream, believing it to be real. So what is the problem? So what's the problem, John? Why do you talk about it? Oh, so we're in a dream world. I'm still going to have fun. I'm going to enjoy. I'm going to live my life. I'm going to go on vacation. I'm going to have that drink. I'm going to have that cake. What else should I do? Now we get to what the enslavement part of this is. What the part is that keeps you from remembering who you really are. All that which is in our space today, the ever increasing amount of information that is flooding the space, which means that boredom is a literal thing of the past. Nobody ever needs to get bored, but because boredom is dangerous. Boredom means you have nothing else to do. You might as well think. You might as well expand your consciousness. You might as well ponder. You might as well meditate or do something. You're never supposed to get there anymore. Boredom is forbidden because even 10 minutes can create an awakening shift within people because of the energy of our time, because of the mass or the mass awakening of consciousness. It's starting to become contagious. So the flooding of the space with AI creating content, so much of it that all you have to do is pick up one of the screens around you or just look around you. There is a screen usually, and you will be engaged in a narrative, engaged in distraction. The distraction from you tapping into spirit, tapping into your true consciousness, not the body mind, not the brain, not just the heart, but spirit, which is not in its pure sense. It's not enslaved by this matrix. It's not enslaved by this perceptual false reality. You tap into that, your consciousness, it expands beyond this imaginative body. It's really an imaginary body. It expands beyond this imaginary world. And it taps into something that is truthful and real and eternal. That's what people often experience in meditations. When they are willing and they have the discipline and the focus to go there, they experience something that is way more real than anything they ever experience when their eyes are open. And they go, what is that? Where was I? What was that space? Why did I feel nothing but everything? Love, everything all at once. No wants, no needs, no desires, no worry, no anger, no fear. What is a space that gives that? Well, if you ever wanted to attach meaning to the word home, that is home. That is origin. That is who we really are. That is the state that we are fighting to remember, that we're fighting to return to, that we're doing everything in our power now to return to. While those who have fallen so far from creation that they have become the inversion of it are fighting to keep us, because we are the source. We are the power source of their false reality. Our fear, our worries, our beliefs. Because what do our beliefs do? And I'll tell you that even if you define or identify as a Christian, as a today Christian, which means that most Christians today do not believe in reincarnation or karma, which is a connected belief system, they would still accept certain aspects of it because they think there needs to be a redemption. So basically, karma and reincarnation to a certain degree is accepted. even if subconsciously, because what people think is, oh, I've done something wrong, I need to redeem myself or I'll have negative consequences, which is basically how karma could be defined. That there is an equal reaction to every action, and that needs to be dissolved or resolved and evolved beyond, so you can actually escape this or you can actually move beyond this. But what if you live a truthful life? What if you trust spirit in your decision making processes? And what if you choose your free will that spirit gives itself to step off the karma wheel? What if you give yourself permission to detach from these belief systems that we need to go through all these repetitious experiences over and over and over and over again, that we need to return to this place in order to evolve and get permission to go to a better place? Can you imagine giving yourself permission of knowing that this is part of this matrix simulation? That all these belief systems, as evolved as they seem and as spiritual as they seem and as enlightened as they seem, are still they're still part of the modalities of this fake simulation. It's a big one. All our belief systems, all our cosmologies, all our religions are operating systems for this reality. They are not reality. Don't believe me? Go on the journey of exploration. Who am I to say this is the truth? But if you keep asking why and who and how, if you keep asking those questions beyond what you find in the moment, giving yourself permission to realize this is just one aspect to know. There's more to know. There's more to realize. There's more to comprehend. And keep experiencing. I think you'll find very much a similar scenario. And to exist, to be, to expand, to transcend all these belief systems, now that is freedom. Because you return in the greatest sense possible while you're in this experience to being a co-creator. Ultimately, accepting that you can change your experience in this matrix. Through that, you change this matrix. And again, through all of that, others are influenced as well. So we have our own reality bubbles. Though that which we define as our lives, that's what we have most creative control over. That's what we can really design very accurately the way we want to. If we choose our true powers, then there is a collective experience, which you could call what this matrix is. We have less control over that because it is ultimately where collective consciousness goes or doesn't go. And then there is the beyond, which once you go there, all of this seems very comical and crazy and insane. And the reason why we put all our trust and faith and hope into these pre-designed belief systems is because we were taught to believe that this is all there is. That this, what we see, is all there is. There is some mental level where we know, okay, there's more. there's this vastness of space and infinity, but most people don't live their lives that way. They live their lives in the belief that what they can see and smell and taste and touch is all that exists. And so they better pick one operating system and follow that if they want to have some chance at getting to a better place. But what happens is that because people do not give themselves permission to transcend their belief systems, by the time that they leave these bodies, the simulation continues. Because these bodies truly don't exist. So see, whatever you thought was the barrier between this world and that world, it's not physical. It's just a shift in perception. So we change our perception from this body to another way of thinking, another way of being. And in that realm, when we leave here, go there, we're being told that we still have more karma to resolve, and that, in this next incarnation, the next level of the game, the next level of the simulation, we'll be this or we'll be that. Now we'll be a woman, now we'll be in this position, and now we will be the killed, not the killer, or we'll be the abused, not the abuser, whatever. And we will produce more of low vibrational energy that powers this realm. Or we go all in and take the risk of being considered insane and completely having lost our minds by those who are fully programmed into it, not give a shit, and expand and expand and expand until what I've just said becomes an experience for all of us. So you have your own truth experience of it, so you can confirm it for yourself. Because that you'll never forget. And a lot of people have had some sort of experience that shows them that this is basically a primitive game that we've been kept in compared to what reality is. The infinity of possibilities. Or we can return to fighting whether the politician that is subscribed to this party is better than the politician that is subscribed to that party, just pretending that they're not all playing for the same masters. Just pretending that this game is real, and we can continue fighting over that. We can continue saying that, well, my guy was killed on a cross by your people, so let's fight over that. Or my people are the chosen ones, and so we deserve to rule over your people. And we could go on and on and on about all these games that are simply meant to keep us in this perceptual prison. It's not something you can just mentally go through. This is accepting that consciousness is the connecting factor between all of it. And ultimately, of course, accepting that even into the deepest depths of what humans can do to each other, that even there is consciousness, as inverted as it is, but it's still there. Can anything be void of consciousness? I don't think so. Because consciousness is energy, and nothing seems to be able to be void of energy. It can be in various forms, but it's not void. So none of it is real. This microphone, the words that I'm speaking, how would you say they're real? We have a common program that allows us to communicate with each other. But outside of this realm and this conversation, in this space, we would never use words. We don't need them. We actually feel each other on a completely different level. But once again, all of this can be only explained to a certain degree. It points to a choice. And the choice, which was symbolized by a blue pill or red pill, is not a choice about pills or psychedelics or anything like that. It's a choice to follow the truth wherever it may lead you. And I've seen so many people comment and say that they didn't think that they could ever transcend certain beliefs because they thought those were the truth, and that's the end of it, and they had certainty in it. They knew it for sure. Well, whenever I thought I knew something for sure, and this is the end of it, I I received a great present of a big awakening that I'm just barely beginning to scratch the surface, and don't need to be cocky about it. Just keep exploring. So, are we simply fighting each other over ideas of how to make this world a little better? Or are we actually expanding our consciousness to the point where we return to what could be considered prime reality, the real thing? And the level of consciousness that is required to do that is the same level of consciousness that will prevent you from doing anything harmful to prime reality. Let me say this again. The level of consciousness that is required to go there, to return to that, is the same level of consciousness that will prevent you from harming that. It is only expanded awareness, consciousness that can do that, nothing else. You could be digging for portals all you want. Unless you are open and aware enough and expand far enough, it won't work. You can't think your way there. You have to expand your way there. It's a completely different concept. All right, my friends. I think this was it for today. I know so many of you can see this. And I do think that I do wish that the conversation, generally speaking, goes beyond our fake divisions in society, that we can talk about those things, sure, because they're important, because those are stepping stones to a greater consciousness, right? So all those deceptions within the deceptions, the maze within the maze, the simulation within the simulation, and this is what is being done, by the way, with this what we perceive to be technological advancement. It's just meant to tighten the prison so that the awakening can't happen. There's a lot of this awakening happening, and so what they're doing, and here that's the end game, is okay. So currently they can't fully prevent greater understanding because it's unfolding. People are seeing greater pictures. They're seeing the deceptions, but the deceptions are like the babushka, the Russian doll. That's how the matrix is operating. You think you found the holy grail of wisdom. You found the babushka. You found the doll, and then you take off the one piece. Have you ever seen that? And then there's another doll inside that doll, and then there's another doll inside the doll inside the doll, and it goes on and on until you at some point get there. And that's what they're wanting us to not do. That's what they're trying to prevent. So they want to literally, this last bastion of freedom that we still have, that allows us to access spirit, they're interfering with that through all possible means. They're interfering with that until they think they can get to a place where we can't access it no matter what we do, and we'll stay in a perpetual loop in this shit show. So in that sense, yeah, time sort of is of the essence in that sense, right? In that sense, we are. It is necessary for us to do this now, to go all the way as far as we can now, to transcend the madness. All right, my friends, thank you again for being with us. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll be back with you again very, very soon. Are you looking for like-minded and like-hearted people to connect with? Then the Inspired Community on Locals is the right place for you. You can post, comment, share, and connect with others, and our shows there are completely uncensored and unfiltered. It's stuff we can't talk about here. It's such a great community, and there are zero trolls. We keep the subscription fees super low, so 19 cents per day keep the trolls away. Join us today at inspired.locals.com. We can't wait to see you there.